If I were to look into the heart of each one of you today, I would likely find a common, unwelcome guest worry. Worry about the future, about your rizq, your livelihood. Worry about your children, your health, your exams, your marriage. This worry is like a heavy cloak we wear every day, a weight on our chest that makes every step forward feel like a struggle. We lie awake at night, our minds racing, playing out 1,000 different scenarios of what could go wrong. We try to control everything, to micromanage our lives as if we are the sole captains of a ship in a raging storm. And in doing so, we forget the most fundamental truth of our existence. We forget the captain of captains. The statement, Allah is sufficient as a guardian, is not merely a comforting phrase to be recited in times of ease. It is a foundational pillar of faith, a radical reorientation of one's entire existence. To truly internalize this divine promise is to undergo a fundamental shift in how we perceive the world, our place within it, and the very source of our provision and protection. It is the spiritual and intellectual bedrock upon which the house of trust is built. When we dissect this profound concept, we find it is not a call to passive inaction, but an invitation to active and profound reliance on a power that is absolute and unfailing. Consider first the nature of our worries. Most often, they orbit around the concept of the rizq, our sustenance, our livelihood. We worry about the stability of our jobs, the size of our paychecks, the mounting bills, the uncertain economy. We look at our resources, our bank accounts, our professional networks, our personal capabilities, and we measure our security against their perceived limits. This is a natural human calculation. But the moment we declare, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil, see Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs, we are performing a revolutionary act. We are transferring the ledger of our provision from the limited column of our own efforts to the infinite column of divine grace. Our efforts are still necessary, for they are the means through which Allah delivers our risks, but they are no longer the source. The source is and has always been Allah. This distinction is everything. When your salary comes from a company, your sense of security is tied to the company's health, your boss's mood, and the fluctuations of the market, all of which are inherently unstable. But when you understand that your true provider is Allah, and your job is merely one of countless vehicles He can use, your security becomes untethered from worldly instability. You begin to see your efforts as a form of worship, a fulfillment of your duty to seek sustenance, while the outcome rests securely in the hands of the One who commanded the universe into being. This reliance extends far beyond financial matters into the realm of our personal safety and honor. In a world that often feels hostile, where our reputations can be tarnished by a whisper and our safety can feel precarious, the human impulse is to build fortresses. We rely on our own cleverness to navigate social labyrinths, our physical strength or security systems to feel safe, and our social alliances to protect our standing. Yet, these are walls of sand against the tide of life's uncertainties. The Quran reminds us in Surah Al-Anfal, and they schemed, and Allah schemed, and Allah is the best of schemers. When you have wrongdoers plotting against you, or you face injustices that seem insurmountable, your most potent weapon is not a better counter-scheme, but the unwavering conviction that your guardian is the best of planners. He can thwart plots you are not even aware of, and He can defend your honor in ways you could never orchestrate. To trust in Allah as your guardian is to hand Him the burden of your defense. It is to believe that His plan for your protection is infinitely more sophisticated, comprehensive, and effective than any plan you could ever devise. This is not a surrender born of weakness, it is a strategic alliance with the ultimate power. Furthermore, this sufficiency is not a distant, abstract promise, it is an active, engaged reality. Allah's guardianship is not that of a passive observer, but of a loving, attentive protector. He says in the Quran, unquestionably, He is encompassing what they are doing. This encompassing knowledge means He is aware of not only the threat you face, but the tremor in your heart, the silent tear you hide, the unspoken fear that grips you in the dead of night. His sufficiency addresses not just the external problem, but the internal turmoil it causes. This is why the peace that comes from this trust is so profound. It is a peace that persists even before the external situation is resolved. The problem may still be present, the difficulty may still loom, but the heart is at rest because it is connected to the source of all peace. It is the difference between being in a storm-tossed boat, terrified of the waves, and being in a submarine, viewing those same waves from a place of unshakable depth and stability. The storm rages on the surface, but you are safe in the depths of divine care. Internalizing this truth requires a constant, conscious practice of the heart and mind. It begins with knowledge, deeply studying the names and attributes of Allah, especially Al-Wakil, the trustee, Ar-Razzaq, the provider, and Al-Hafid, the protector. When you know who your guardian is, trust becomes a natural consequence. It is reinforced through remembrance adhikra. The repetitive, soothing recitation of Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil acts as a spiritual mantra, rewiring the neural pathways of anxiety towards calm conviction. Every time a worry arises, you consciously counter it with this affirmation, not as empty words, but as a profound declaration of your reality. And it is perfected through the observation of His signs in your own life and in the creation around you. Look at the bird that leaves its nest at dawn without a single grain stored in its home, yet returns at dusk with its belly full. Who provided for it? Look back at your own life, at the doors Allah closed that saved you from unseen disasters, at the help that arrived from quarters you never expected. These are not coincidences. They are the fingerprints of your guardian, the tangible evidence of His active sufficiency. Ultimately, to believe that Allah is sufficient as a guardian is to live a life of incredible spiritual freedom. It liberates you from the tyranny of created things, from the fear of people, the obsession with wealth, and the desperation to control the uncontrollable. Your heart is no longer a hostage to your circumstances because it is tethered to the one who governs all circumstances. Your value is not determined by the approval of others, for you are under the guardianship of the King of Kings. Your future is not a source of dread, for it is being written by the most wise and the most merciful. This is the unshakable foundation. When this truth moves from your tongue to your heart, and from your heart into the very core of your being, worry begins to lose its power. It may visit, but it can no longer reside within you, for the space is already occupied by a far greater, more powerful, and more peaceful tenant. The unwavering trust that your guardian is, and will always be, sufficient for you. The story of Hajar, upon her be the peace of Allah, is not merely a historical narrative recounted during the rites of pilgrimage. It is a living, breathing blueprint for the state of tawakkul, or complete trust in Allah. It is a masterclass in the anatomy of faith, breaking down the seemingly monolithic concept of trust into its constituent parts, a moment of seeking clarity, an utterance of supreme conviction, and a flurry of relentless action. In the vast, silent, and unforgiving desert of Paran, where the horizon offered no hope and the earth no sustenance, Hajar constructed a monument to trust that would stand for millennia, teaching every believing heart that follows how to navigate its own personal deserts. The first pillar of this blueprint is the pursuit of understanding before the leap of faith. When Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, began to walk away from her and their infant son Ismail, leaving them with only a small pouch of dates and a skin of water, Hajar did not initially respond with a silent, stoic resignation. The Quran does not record this, but the authentic hadith does. She called after him, "O Ibrahim, where are you going, leaving us in this valley where there is no person nor anything else?" She repeated the question, her voice likely tinged with the natural human panic of abandonment. She sought a reason, an explanation for this seemingly cruel and irrational act. This is a profoundly human and crucial step. Islam does not demand a blind, unthinking faith that suppresses our questions. It invites us to seek understanding, to align our hearts with divine wisdom. Hajar's questions were not a sign of weak faith. They were the necessary process of a rational mind grappling with a divine test. Her faith was not a default setting, but a choice she would consciously make. This teaches us that it is perfectly natural, even necessary, to look at our own barren valleys, the job loss, the diagnosis, the financial crisis, and to ask why. What is the meaning of this? What is the wisdom here? The crisis of trust often begins not with a lack of faith, but with a lack of understanding. The second and most pivotal pillar is the affirmation of divine agency. When Abraham, peace be upon him, finally answered, not with a human justification, but with the ultimate reason, has Allah commanded you to do this? And he replied, yes, her entire being shifted. In that moment, her perspective transformed. She was no longer being abandoned by a man. She was being placed in the direct care of God. Her response, then he will not neglect us, is one of the most powerful declarations of trust ever uttered. The word neglect is key here. It implies a careless oversight, an absence of attention. Hajar's conviction was that the Allah who had commanded this trial was, by his very nature, Al-Muhammina, the guardian, Al-Rikibda, the watchful. A command from him is never an abandonment. It is always an invitation into a deeper covenant. He does not place a soul in a situation only to turn away. This is the core of the blueprint to reframe your circumstance. You are not a victim of random chaos, of a cruel boss, a failing economy, or a malicious person. You are first and foremost in a situation permitted by Allah. And if He permitted it, He is actively engaged within it. Your desert is not a place He is absent from. It is a place where His power and mercy are about to be manifested in a way you could not have witnessed in a land of ease. Hajar's statement was a transfer of dependency from the seen, Ibrahim, the dates, the water, to the unseen, Allah, the creator of the seen. The third pillar, which completes the trinity of trust, is the exertion of exhaustive effort. Hajar did not simply say, Allah will not neglect us, and then sit down in the sand to wait for a miracle. The moment Ibrahim was out of sight and the reality of their predicament set in, she sprang into action. Her infant son, Ismail, was crying from thirst, and the water was gone. A mother's love and her trust in God fused into a powerful, desperate energy. She did not know where help was, so she searched everywhere. She climbed the nearest hill, As-Safa, and scoured the horizon. Seeing nothing, she ran down into the valley and climbed the opposite hill, Al-Mawa. She did this not once, but 7 times, back and forth, in the scorching heat, her eyes straining for a caravan, a well, any sign of hope. This running, this, say, is the physical manifestation of trust. It is the undeniable proof that faith tawakkul is not passive. It is the marriage of a heart that relies entirely on Allah with limbs that strive to their absolute capacity. Hajar did not know that her running would become an eternal right for millions. She only knew that she had to do everything humanly possible to save her child. She used her intellect, her physical strength, and her unwavering determination. She exhausted every conceivable avenue. This teaches us that our trust must be operationalized. To trust Allah for a job means to polish your resume, to network, to apply tirelessly, to prepare for interviews, to run your 7 rounds between Safa and Marwa. To trust Allah for a cure means to consult doctors, to take medication, to change your lifestyle, to strive with every means He has provided. You must run until there is literally no strength left to run, and then at the point of total human exhaustion, you witness the divine response. And the response did come. It was not in the form Hajar might have expected. A distant caravan appearing on the horizon. It came from the most unexpected place, right beneath the feet of her desperate child. As she ran back towards him on her final round, she heard a sound, and there it was, water gushing forth from the barren earth. The well of Zamzam, a spring that would become a life source for generations. The miracle did not precede her effort, it was the divine reward for it. Her running did not cause the water to spring forth, Allah caused it. But her running was the divinely ordained vehicle through which the miracle was revealed and received. This is the complete blueprint. Seek understanding to align your heart, affirm with conviction that your Lord will not neglect you, and then run, strive, and exert yourself with every fiber of your being, not as one who controls the outcome, but as one who trusts in the one who does. In your own barren valleys, you are Hajar. Your trust is not measured by the absence of fear or effort, but by the presence of a conviction so powerful that it fuels a relentless, hopeful striving, culminating in the certain knowledge that your Zamzam is on its way from the one who never breaks his promise.